today I'm so excited because I'll be showing you guys how to make Nqaj Npua Tsawg, and that translates to as like a slow cooked pork. I grew up eating this when I was a kid. My grandma would always make this for us, and I don't know, it's just like a dish that my grandma would always make. I feel like a lot of you guys probably grew up eating this because your grandma made them for you or your mom made it for you. But yeah, today I'll be showing you guys how to make two kinds today, one with mustard greens and then one with fresh ginger. And this dish is super delicious, and the reason why it's so delicious because it's very fatty. It has tons of fat in there. It's cooked in a ton of fat. This is why I only eat it once a year, because of the amount of fat that's cooked in. But when my grandma used to make this, she would use the pig's head, and because there's a lot of collagen in there's a lot of fat, and there's just a lot of like weird parts of the pig that you usually don't eat, right? But today I'll be showing you guys how to make Nqaj Npua Tsawg with different parts of the pork. For example, pork belly, and then like pork knuckles, and just the leg of the pork. This dish is super delicious, but it is very time consuming. Back in the day, my grandma would actually cook this in a big pot over low heat for like hours and hours, and stirring it for hours to reduce all that fat. So instead of using a pot, we are going to use a slow cooker. It can also be done in the pressure cooker as well, Instapot if you guys have one, a slow cooker. But today I'll be showing you guys how to do it in a slow cooker so that we don't have to worry about the heat, so we can just let it go for 12 hours overnight, wake up and finish it off. So yeah, I'll be showing you guys how to make it today. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video. Hopefully you guys can try it out yourself and make it to your taste. But yeah, let me know if you guys ever had this dish before, or if you guys miss eating this dish. So yeah, let's go cook. Let's go. Okay, so I have a whole bowl here of pork bones and meat in here, but we're gonna use mostly bones, just because the bones give out really nice flavor for this dish. If you guys want, you can do half bone and half meat, which I have some pork belly here as well. But majority of this is bone. So this is about 14 pounds of bones with meat on, and it's also cartilage and fat. And then I have about like 2 pounds of pork belly with the skin on, with fat and everything on there. Okay, so I have my giant slow cooker here. I'm just going to add in the pork bones in. Alright, we're going to close this up. Alright, so it's been 12 hours cooking this pork, and it is nice and soft, like it falls apart like that. So this doesn't look the prettiest, but it's gonna taste so good. So I let this cool for about a good 1 hour before I'm gonna take off the meat. So these have a lot of bones in there, and basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the meat out from the bones. Alright, so I have some gloves on here, and I'm just going to go ahead and grab the bones, and look, the meat, it's already falling, and we're just going to tear off the meat, and we'll put it into a pot that we're going to cook it in even more. And then the bones, we're just going to discard it. Do your best to not get any of the smaller bones like this into the meat. Just because, you know, when people eat it, and you don't want to break your teeth, right? So you see these fat right here with the meat? That's the best part. So good. Alright, so I've taken the meat out of the bones and put it into a pot that I'm going to cook it even more. But before we do that, we're going to put in the pork fat that has been cooking in, so that we can actually cook the pork in it. The pork fat here that has been cooking in with the meat overnight, we are going to add this into the pork as well. Now this is what makes this dish also very delicious, because of the amount of fat in here, and it's dangerous. That's why you can only eat a little bit. A little bit goes a long way. So I'm gonna add that in there. Take this out. And then we're going to cook it and reduce it even more so that the fat and the liquid and moisture evaporates. Alright, so I'm going to turn the heat on and let this come to a simmer. And and let it break apart even more. So yeah, I'm just gonna let this reduce and let the moisture get released even more, and then we'll come back and check on them. But make sure you stir them once in a while or else it's gonna stick to the bottom. But yeah, I'll come back and check on this every 10 minutes or so, and then stir it up. Alright, so this has been cooking for a good 30 minutes. As you can see, a lot of the meat has broken down a lot. Really soft now. So at this point, you guys can strain a little bit of that fat if you don't want any of that fat, or you can also reduce it even more. But at this point, since I'm showing you guys how to make two kinds today, I'm going to strain a little bit of that fat and continue cooking it in a pan the two ways that I'm going to show you guys. Quite a lot, actually, because it's quite soft now. You guys can add salt to this and eat it exactly like this, but it's a little too rich, too fatty. We're going to add in some ginger and some greens in here to kind of balance out all that richness. So yeah, I'm going to strain just some fat because it's not too much. Perfect. Whoa, a lot of fat, right? And it is sticking to the bottom, so just make sure you always stir this up. Yeah. So I'm going to divide this into two, and we're going to make two different kinds today. And yeah, I'll show you guys how to make the one with mustard greens and the one with ginger. Okay, so I split the meat in half. So this one, I'm going to cook it, just reduce it a little bit to get the meat a little bit drier, which is looking pretty nice. See how soft it is? Really soft. Alright, so as you can see, it's sticking a little bit to the bottom. So now we can add in the greens. So let's do that. These are the greens that my mom picked in her garden, fresh mustard greens. I'm using about 2 pounds. You guys can use less or use more depending on how much greens you guys like in this dish. Because this dish is so fatty, we like to use a lot of greens to counterbalance all that fatty goodness. But like I said, you guys can use as much as you guys want, or you can use less if you guys prefer as well. So I'm gonna pour this in here. And this is just like spinach, basically. It looks like a lot, but it's gonna reduce quite a lot. So, put in there. Yeah. So if you guys want, you guys can add a little ginger in here. Let it wilt and cook for a good 15 minutes or so, or whatever tenderness of the greens you guys like, preferred. Just cook as you guys like. Okay, so at this point the greens have wilted. You guys can cook it until it's really soft, which my grandma loves to eat it really soft, or just to the bite. But I like it to cook it in between just till it's wilted and a little bit soft. But at this point now we can go ahead and season it. So don't forget to season. I'm going to add in a little bit of salt and mushroom seasoning in here. So a little bit of salt and mushroom seasoning, and you guys can add a little bit more salt if you guys prefer. Really up to you and your preference of salt. So yeah, it's nicely seasoned. You guys can cook this even more and reduce it if you guys want. That only means that the vegetable is going to get a little bit more mushier in terms of that. But I like a little bit of texture in there, so I like to cook it just like this. But if you guys want even more drier, go ahead and cook it even longer on low heat. But this one is all good and ready. You can serve this with rice. Okay, so how I like to eat this is with a plate of fresh rice here. And this you do not need a lot, just because it's so rich and so heavy. A little bit goes a long way. And then of course you have to have pepper to go with it as well. All right, so the other half that I have saved and divided, I put it into a non-stick pan. The reason why I did that is because this one is going to be a more drier version. So we're gonna let this like crisp up on the bottom and add a lot of ginger into it, and then we'll eat it. So this is more of the drier version and crispier version. So I don't know if your parents or any of your grandparents made the drier version for you guys, but my mom made this version before, and I actually really enjoy this version as well. So this is freshly grated ginger. You guys can add as much or as little as you guys want. For us, we like a lot just because, again, the pork is really rich, very fatty. So we're gonna add about, this is about half a cup to 2/3 of a cup of grated ginger into the pork. So add that in there. All right, we're gonna stir this up. All right, so I'm just gonna let this sit for a good 10 to 15 minutes to just get crisp on the bottom, and I'll just stir it as I go. Just make sure you keep an eye on it so it doesn't burn, and make sure you have a nice temperature so you don't burn the pork. So I'm gonna put it on medium-low heat and let that crisp up away. Okay, so it's been a good 25 minutes. I've been stirring it constantly within like a 5-minute intervals. But if you guys can look on the very bottom here, see how crispy it is now. Oh my gosh. Anyways, this is pretty much done. We're just going to season it, and then we can serve it on some rice. Okay, so again, go ahead and season this with some salt and mushroom seasoning if you guys want. Since this one doesn't have any greens, we're going to put a little bit less salt. So this is pretty much done. If you guys want and make it even more crispier, go ahead and cook it even more for like another 20 minutes or so. But again, it's really up to you guys to cook it to the texture that you guys like and prefer. My grandma, she likes to make it really soft. It's really up to you guys. So yeah, this is pretty much ready. We can serve this with some rice and some pepper, and then it's all good to go. So yeah, we'll serve this up. I have a plate of rice here, and the one with the ginger, I'm just gonna serve exactly the same. But if you guys have any pickled, fermented pickled mustard greens, this would be really perfect for it as well. But to that, now I'm gonna add in some pepper. Gotta have it with pepper. It's so good.